How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, here we go. Show must go on no matter what. Ohio political news. It's the podcast show. Woo! Yeah. Yowza. All right, so tonight we sort of have a guest from the John Birch Society, Rebecca Terrell. She's supposed to be joining us, and unless she connects, really, they're probably going to put one right through your backyard.
I wanted to know about that CO2 pipeline, Joe. I really did. So hopefully she shows up and educates us on there. We should say welcome to everybody, though.
Leonard, how you doing, man?
Nice to see.
Doing fantastic. Rebecca Terrell is a very good editor. And journalist. I've read a lot of her materials.
Is
She's
that
excellent.
Right? Well,
so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, doing my best to get her on tonight. Got my award-winning cup, my cup of coffee, my cup of Jove. I was hoping she'd be on tonight. You know, this sometimes happens, though. Either the guests forget that they're supposed to be on, or the guests forget that they're supposed to be on. So anyhow, I'm here in Ohio. That's interesting, and there's some Ohio news in general. Actually, I might try to get a hold of him and have him come on sooner, because he doesn't have to wait till 7:30 if he's available. And then we have Stepahie Stock coming on, and with Stepahie we're going to look at what's happening with the medical freedom and everything. So we'll be doing that. And Jonathan, if you haven't heard Rebecca Terrell, I don't have her hooking up with us tonight, unfortunately. I am trying, but and I've called, and she hasn't been able to connect. So I don't know if you have any connections, if you want to try to call her or something.
I'll mute and try to call her.
Yeah.
Are you not?
I tried calling, not having any luck with that. I don't see her in the Zoom. So if you want to do that, that would be great. Give it a shot. See if we can get a hold of her. If not, we will persevere. But you know what we're going to talk about tonight, guys, is this whole thing with the CO2. The CO2 pipeline. Well, I got to play a video because it gets a little complicated. So let's play a video right here.
To fight against global warming.
The fight against global warming. Look at all that global warming going up into the sky. By the way, that's funny because they're showing nuclear power plants there. They don't emit any kind of climate change problems.
The world needs to sharply reduce emissions of carbon dioxide gas.
Okay, so you got the smokestacks, and what's happening is CO2. CO2 is coming up through the smokestack,
which traps heat in the atmosphere. Power plants that burn coal or other fossil fuels emit much of that CO2. But a technology called carbon capture and storage...
so you know what's
happening. Will there be a
here.
test later, Joe?
Yes, there's a test.
In a carbon capture system, before going up the smokestack, this mixture of gases is sprayed with a chemical that attaches only to the CO2.
So there's some kind of a chemical that they spray when it's going up through the smokestack of a factory, all right, and it traps the CO2. Nothing else, just the CO2.
The chemical is then heated to release the gas, producing a stream of pure carbon dioxide that's compressed and sent through a pipeline to a well. The chemical is recycled and used again and again. At the well, the CO2 is injected deep underground, where it spreads out into porous layers of rock and sand. Impermeable rock layers
See, it goes way deep down into the ground. Way
above
deep down.
act as a cap, preventing the gas from rising up and eventually out into the atmosphere. In theory, at least, the gas should stay buried forever.
Okay, in theory, it's going to be down there forever. So did you guys understand that? Did that make any sense? Let me go to you, Brian. Did that make any sense to you?
Oh, yeah, crystal clear. Crystal clear. How much CO2 do you know, Joe, as far as what they're pumping underground? It just seems like maybe 50 years from now they may look back and say, back in 2025, they're pumping all that gas in there, and look what they've done to us.
That's a good point.
Really
Is there going to be any kind of a problem when you're pumping all this CO2 into the ground? And then they also pump the CO2 not only deep into the ground where it can never emerge or go anywhere, but also they like to pump it into oil fields underground. And this somehow allows you to pump more oil out of the ground. So it'd be a great place like in Texas or something. You could use this to help get more oil out of the ground. But, the thing is with this whole process, it's extremely expensive to do. Now, doing a little bit of homework, it takes 2,500 pounds per square inch of pressure to move the CO2 through these pipes. And these pipes go for hundreds and hundreds of, maybe thousands of miles, okay? So they've got to have all these different stations to keep pumping it through because there's only certain locations that they can get rid of it into the ground, okay?
Do you know where they capture it, Joe? Is it captured in Chicago or big cities?
Where they dispose of it, there's a few locations.
No, I'm capturing the CO2. Is it?
Yeah, it would have to be at factories.
You know how they capture it? I mean, just
it would have to be at a factory that has that kind of equipment that's able to do it.
So it's in the factory itself. So they've got the equipment in a factory
that would catch
sucking
it.
All the CO2.
That's what that first video was all about. So as it's going up the smokestack or something, it's able to separate the CO2 out through a chemical process.
Well, that was like the coal scrubbers they had here in the Eastlake plant. I mean, they were complaining about the coal burning that created all sorts of a mess in the environment and in the community, and they put coal scrubbers in there to capture the coal dust. So I guess they're maybe they don't want any industry. Maybe that's what the left.
They don't want any industry. That could be a problem. All right. So one other thing. Here's another video here. We don't have the expert on tonight. We're going to do the best we can. This shows you what happens when you have a leak in that pipe. Now, remember, I'm telling you that those pipes go for hundreds of miles, maybe thousands of miles, different locations, okay? So what happens if you have a leak? Because you're putting the pipes together, they got to be welded, and then a welder just doesn't do a real good job on one of them. He's angry at his boss or whatever. He does a lousy job or something. All right, here is this was February 22nd, 2020. It's 7 p.m. in Mississippi.
Around about 7 o'clock, I saw a big explosion. I was there when it happened.
Now this will give you an idea of what it looks like. Okay, this is a reenactment explosion from the UK showing what happens. So this would have been very similar to what they saw in Mississippi.
It actually just boom, big cloud of smoke went up in the went up in the air, and I called my mother immediately, and I told her, I said, "Mama, this pipeline that blew up down here. We on our way to come get y'all." And by the time we turned on Prairie Creek Road off number 3, the car just shut off and went dead. And my cousin, which is Victor Lewis, he was driving at the time.
Now, take a look at how that spreads out. And that is a massive amount. And you've got roads over there and stuff. There would be cars, cattle, people, you name it. I mean, this is very serious.
He said, "Cuz, the car cut off." As soon as he said that was it.
Here's an example of another one.
So that's all CO2?
That's all CO2, yeah. That's all CO2.
You know what's happy about that? You know what's happy about that is the plants. Because you know what CO2 is? It's plant food. That's the whole notion of this thing.
You're going to have some really big, monstrous plants right there, right?
Yeah, you're going to end up with...
Yeah, you're right, Jonathan.
And right. But you know what I keep thinking of? like every time this comes up and we're gonna capture this magic secret formula out of the air, we're gonna spend trillions of tax dollars saving the planet by capturing this. And the whole thing, we're all figuring out that all the windmills and the solar panels and everything were a massive scam. They can't possibly pay off. What we're finding out is that it would take 10,000 years if they worked flawlessly for them to gain back what went into making the darn things. And now we've got these fields full of old, degrading, non-biodegradable solar panels, and the blades from the whole thing's a fiasco, and people make gobs of money off of it. But here's the thing I keep thinking of. It occurred to me a long time ago, as people are talking about trying to capture and build tubes to put CO2 in. I watched that movie Idiocracy a long time ago, and they was like, everyone was drinking Brawndo, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't healthy, because they stopped drinking water, and that Brawndo was like the Gatorade in this movie. If you didn't see it, you should see the movie. It's ridiculous, but kind of true-ish. But in the movie, everyone just stopped drinking water because the marketing for Brawndo was it's good for you. And so everyone was drinking Brawndo, wondering why they're sick. In the future, if we do this thing, we're going to have all this supposedly captured. I doubt they're even actually doing anything. It's just smoke and mirrors to collect and get paid billions. But if they did, I imagine some point in the future where everyone's like, why are the plants not growing? How come there aren't growing plants? Oh, that was another facet of the movie. I don't want to give away too much, but they couldn't get anything to grow. It turns out that somebody figured out that they were trying to water plants with Brawndo. So one smart guy comes along and is like, try water. And then the plants grew. Yeah. So that's going to be us in like 10 or 15 years. Like, how come there are no plants growing? Because we're taking away the CO2, which is what plants need that. Literally, when you look at some of the indoor greenhouses where they grow edible foods, broccoli and stuff, when they grow foods indoor, they actually have machines that create and bring in and add CO2 to the atmosphere inside the greenhouse. It's so ludicrous that anybody is even paying any attention to this. It's like people need to get a brain.
Yeah, people, get a life or something. But, what we would have heard tonight from Rebecca, and it would have been very interesting, is this whole land grab. That's another part of it, too. That's another part of the piece of the puzzle. So when they put these pipes through this farmland, and Iowa is a big one, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, those areas through there, it's like a land grab. And let me play this here for a second, too. This might help explain something.
Landowners are having to battle efforts by 3 carbon capture pipeline companies to get signed easements or have their land confiscated through eminent domain. All to bury pipeline.
So you see what he said there. This is from the John Birch Societies. If they don't comply, they can take their land from them.
That would carry highly pressurized carbon dioxide captured from more than 30 ethanol and fertilizer plants to deposit into old oil wells in Illinois and North Dakota. Summit Carbon Solutions has said it has signed easements with up to 75% of landowners along this proposed route. Some of these are from property owners that feel they have been forced into signing and that they hope that their neighbors will put up enough of a fight that the pipeline will not go through.
So 75% have signed an agreement with these pipeline companies. They should not have done that. They should not have
However,
done that.
Those that have signed should be checking with their insurance companies, because we have copies of letters to policyholders from their insurance company telling them that if they allow a carbon capture pipeline onto their land, that their policy is at risk of being either terminated or not being renewed. Why are the pipelines being proposed in the first place? Because the carbon capture industry is a pillar of President Biden's climate change agenda, an agenda that is being used to strip property rights, individual liberties, and overall freedom from every American. Last year, over 1,100 scientists signed a declaration stating that there is no climate emergency. If there is no climate emergency, then billions if not eventually trillions of dollars, vanish for carbon capture piping and sequestration, for solar panels and wind projects, for electric vehicles, for smart cities, for many layers of unconstitutional government and worldwide bureaucracy that would not be needed.
It's not needed at all, but yeah, it's a big cash cow. But that's interesting. So it's all piled together. Have you ever heard of that, Brian? Have you heard of the CO2
it just so
pipelines
happens,
and stuff like that?
Yeah, this past week, I did happen to speak to a young man, probably in his late 30s. He is a legislative aide for a congresswoman that took Liz Cheney's spot, and we were chatting about what's happening on property taxes, and he said, well, in his state, most of the land is owned by the federal government, and really what the environmentalists are really trying to do is they're trying to turn the land owned by the government back. They don't want anybody to be able to live on the land. They want to turn it back, to the animals. It was really, really amazing. So there's no additional development, in the state building houses. They're going to have to go, higher. But he said that the environmentalists want to turn it back into what it was before, before people, were around, and let the animals roam.
I have some comments on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing is that I'm working on trying to get a guest onto this show and onto my podcast. It was brought to my attention maybe about 6 months ago. To paraphrase the story, I've made contact with one of the sons in this family. Effectively, I'm going to paraphrase just to kind of key it up, but there's a farm, a very large farm somewhere, I think it's southern Ohio, that is sixth generation farmland. And apparently 6 generations ago, this was like a very swampy, marshy area in Ohio, and they put a lot of time and energy into draining it. They drained the swamp, which is something I wish we'd do in Ohio, but that's another topic. They drained this, and it made for very, very fertile land. And they've been growing crops for generations on this land. And over the past couple of years, maybe 10-ish years, regulators have come in with all kinds of just preposterous regulations that are unanswerable. And some of the ones that were shared with me are just crazy, cockamamie, ridiculous. Eventually, it got to the point where they just couldn't afford to exist anymore as a farm, because every day they would have to spend 10 hours a day trying to comply with all the ridiculous regulations. So they couldn't afford to maintain this farm, and it's my understanding that most or all of it was actually seized by the state of Ohio. And now the state of Ohio wants to just let it go back to marshland. So to Brian's point, that's in keeping with the whole ridiculous thing that we have going on here. It seems to me that there are some people in this globalist cabal who hate us. They hate humans. They want most of us gone. What was it? Bill Gates is credited with saying he wants like 1.7. Wait, how many are on the Earth? I don't know. Some like 90% of people to die. I think he's on record saying something like that. But another point, we're talking about these people who have signed those agreements under duress, presumably by the comments that lawyer was making, or the guy from John Birch Society. If those people who own the farmland that were pressured into signing this thing, first of all, if you're listening to this and you know somebody, or you think you might know somebody that did that, here's a comment that I think might apply in a different context, but similar. Somebody actually wrote on one of my posts, why are these towns and communities and residents not sending a notice of rescission?
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper? A woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver. I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Of an agreement to remove their signatures. So notice of rescission, I'd heard that before, but I didn't actually know what it was. I actually had to look it up. But notice of rescission can be used in combination with people arguing that they had no real intention of signing it, but they did so under duress. So I think some of these farmers, especially if they signed during the Biden administration, the doom and gloom hopelessness of communism, and now we have the hope of a Trump administration and maybe trying to repeal some of these egregious governmental entities, maybe now that there's hope, we can organize some of those people, get them together, and have them send one of these notice of rescission. Just send a legal document to that company, and it effectively says, hey, that signature, I didn't plan, I didn't mean to, and it is rescinded. Consider it void and invalid.
Well, hopefully they got a good lawyer. They got somebody they could talk to who will give them some kind of advice like that. But I think the main point here is that 75% of those farmers and stuff were willing to just sign over because they thought they had to, and now they're regretting that. So it's always fight. That's the main theme. Fight this stuff. Fight this federal government. And I've also got to understand what with Trump in there now. I would really find it difficult that he's going to pursue this the way Biden was. It is so expensive to do that. So it has to be, the federal government has to be subsidizing so much of that. To take that CO2 out of a factory and pump it into those pipes and get it to where it has to go is very, very expensive. It can only be subsidized. If they're not subsidized enough, they're not even going to bother doing it. So that's what you have with that. But Kent, are you out there? We can talk for a minute here before our next guest comes on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's up with Ohio political news?
Yeah.
Let's plug ourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's definitely. If you can also go to the website, you can also donate. Also in the chat on Rumble, there's a green dollar sign that you can support us there. Also, if you like what we're doing, and you want to promote whatever you're doing, please contact Joe at ohiopoliticalnews.com, or you can also contact me at Kent at ohiopoliticalnews.com if you want to come on as a guest, or if you want to promote any kind of items. But definitely support us in any way you can.
Ramaswamy, do we have the Tsunami Ramaswamy one? Because we're going to be talking about Vivek here in a minute. With Jeff Louderback.
I can pop that up.
Pop it up once real quick. Let's take a look at that. So we got mugs. We've got stuff if anybody wants to buy anything. And if you want to donate, that would be huge. That would be huge.
Yeah,
but
bring this up.
All right, bring it up.
Yeah, after you bring it up, cut over here. I'll show one of the mugs in action.
Yeah. So you got different colors, different sizes. You can go with different, whatever you want as a color.
So anyhow, it's that Ramaswamy tsunami, and he is coming on like a tsunami. So all right, very good.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So He is the hot topic. Do me a favor if you can. Call Louderback. Tell him to come on, so that we can get him on ASAP and start working with him. But he's from the Epoch Times. He's been following Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign and other stuff. So we'll get to hear from him about that here in Ohio. A couple of things I noticed with the Ohio laws. They want to put together a work permit if you want to get Medicaid. So that's in the works right now. Institute a work requirement for Medicaid, which I think is long overdue and great. And I think we might have Jeff coming on here in just a second. Let me try. But anyhow, listen to this. If you're over the age of, if you're under the age of 55 and you're in good health, why the heck aren't you working at least 20 hours a week? I don't care where, doing what. You should be doing something, and that's what this new bill is going to say, because there's just too many people taking advantage of Medicaid here in Ohio, to the tune of about 250,000 people. So that's got to stop right away. That has got to, we got to put the kibosh on that kind of stuff. Jeff, can you hear me?
And thank you. You caught me
I got you,
responding to a text.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, very good. Good to see you and everything like that. So you're a Epoch Times Ohio reporter, and you live, where do you live again? Where are you coming from?
I'm sorry, I'm adjusting everything now. I'm based here in southern Ohio in the Appalachian foothills down in Highland County, between Hillsborough and Greenfield. I'm from the Xenia area and lived in the Dayton area for a long time, but
okay, so you're right on. You're kind of like on the Ohio, West Virginia border, Pennsylvania.
It takes about an hour to the West Virginia border, an hour to the Kentucky border.
Oh, okay.
It's a great location because, like with Epoch Times, I travel all over the country. If I need to be in Columbus or Cincinnati to fly out, it just takes me like an hour 20 minutes. But I'm down here. I moved like a year and a half ago. That's part of my story, actually. I also have All in Ohio, which is a sustainable living, a rural living website, and I moved down here to be in the country and to learn how to grow things and to be more self-sufficient and
get off the grid. You're off the grid.
Kind of amusing because I'm still a city boy.
Yeah, except for Zoom, you're off the grid. All right, I want to play this. Watch this here.
So tonight, I want you to join me in endorsing Vivek Ramaswamy to be our next governor.
All right, what do you think of those words? So you've been following Vivek, his campaign and everything, right, for the Epoch Times?
Yeah, that's one of the, I'm still covering RFK Jr. and the Make America Healthy Again movement, HHS, but I'm covering the Ohio gubernatorial race. So, as you know, in Ohio, the Republican primary is really the race.
Okay, so you're not just covering Vivek, you're covering everybody. So give me your take on it right now. Who is running for governor? I know Vivek. I know Dave Yost. Is there any possibility that Jim Tressel might throw his name in?
Well, that's the speculation, and that's interesting because people who follow Ohio politics know that.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Mike DeWine does not get along or like Donald Trump. Donald Trump feels the same way about Mike DeWine. And obviously Vivek Ramaswamy being a MAGA guy. Excuse me. So I wouldn't be surprised. That's just speculation at this point. Some people think he's just a placeholder and that's not going to happen. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if Jim Tressel. Obviously, I have an Ohio State sweatshirt on right now. This is Ohio. Ohio State football is like a religion. And as ridiculous as it might seem, people are going to vote if Jim Tressel gets in the race. Some people will vote for him because of that. And then, of course, you have the moderate, non-MAGA Republicans. And you have the Democrats who would support Jim Tressel because it goes down to the I hate the orange man, the Vivek Ramaswamy being tied to Donald Trump. And there's people who just won't vote for anyone related to Donald Trump. And some people just don't like anything MAGA related.
Yeah, that's true. But Trump did take the state by 11 points or something. So I'm not too worried about the Trump haters. I mean, the guy is just killing it here in Ohio, I think. So let me ask you this then. Swap over to the Democrat side, because I think it's only those three for the Republican side: Yost, Ramaswamy, and maybe Jim Tressel. That he's an outlier. He's an outlier.
And you have more of an independent Heather Hill running. I believe when I'm covering races and covering all candidates, and she's obviously a long shot candidate, people don't really know a whole lot about her.
Yeah, what's her name again? What's her name?
Heather Hill. And she's more of a kind of like on a very lower scale, because she hasn't gotten the traction yet of Joe Blystone, but more of a grassroots candidate. On the Democrat side, you have Amy Acton, and there's a possibility that Tim Ryan is going to run, I believe. Obviously, people know Tim Ryan for being a longtime Democrat congressman from Northeast Ohio, but he ran against J.D. Vance in 2022 and lost decisively. But he might run. And then there's speculation, what is Sherrod Brown going to do? Some people think he's going to get back in the Senate race to run against Husted. But obviously, that there's going to be another special election, or a special election in 2026. And then another race or another election in 2028. So wouldn't be surprised if Sherrod Brown ran for the Senate seat, but he would be a formidable candidate if he ran for governor. But I haven't heard any. I mean, it looks like it's Amy Acton on the Democrat side.
Amy Acton is in there at the moment. Now, does she have the support of the Democrat Party? Because it's one thing to be running. Okay, any Republican can run. But you look to see if they have the backing of the Republican Party, if they have the backing of the chairman in the different counties, that whole grassroots groundswell. So, Amy Acton, are the Democrats really behind her, or is she just kind of going on her own rogue way? What's your thoughts?
Well, how was anyone behind her to begin with? Because she was staggeringly wrong about every prediction or every forecast she made about COVID, and but she was popular among the Democrats and the people who love DeWine. I used to call it the DeWine Amy Acton Variety Hour. Every day where they would peddle the fear mongering, and nothing they said ended up being true. But people, you have the Amy Acton fan club on Facebook, which is pretty big. You look at it objectively. The Democrats, obviously Vivek Ramaswamy, he's right now, if the Republican primary would be held, it would be a landslide, in my opinion, and based on polls, he would easily beat Dave Yost. And it might change if Jim Tressel gets in the race. But on the Democrat side, Amy Acton has never run for office, but what do they have? Sherrod Brown is a formidable candidate. He has a lot of support. But he was tied to the Biden administration. So
well, I got one thing. I got a tidbit to throw in. I know the Republican Party is itching to do an endorsement. The sooner the better, because that's just the way they are. And right now, if they were to do an endorsement, it would be for Vivek Ramaswamy, guaranteed. So it's either they're going to hold off on endorsing, or they're going to go with him. But it's kind of early to be doing that. But then, this is such a serious governor's race. We have to pull it out. And so that's about all you've heard. There is no other Democrat other than maybe a Tim Ryan or a Sherrod Brown. But Sherrod Brown might be more interested in the Senate seat.
Yes.
Yeah. Brian, you've been following politics longer than I have, I think.
Well, at the state level, Jeff certainly knows the players. I contend that we need some new blood down in the State House. So, I'm all for Vivek. He's mentioned that he's interested in doing something drastic to the property taxes. So when we hear that, that certainly grabs our attention. And as far as the Democrats, they're going to have a hard time winning. I really do. Even Sherrod Brown, with all his name recognition, I'd say, yeah, try running for governor up against Vivek. Amy Acton I don't think she's gonna have a chance at all. And how much does it cost to run for a governor's spot? Is it
for a governor,
$10 million?
it could be crazy. The governor's the record was $32 million for our governor DeWine. Not this last time because he went up against an easy opponent, but the first time he had to go up against, I think was it Richard Cordroy? I believe it was. Wow. I don't think that she's a viable candidate. I think she's a Lone Ranger type person. She's out there. She wants the spotlight. She's got this idea that she can do it. A lot of people get that idea in politics, but again, if you don't have the party behind you, unless you've got tons of money, you may as well forget it.
Sherrod Brown, who has his own chapter dedicated in a book called Profiles in Corruption. I said it twice because it's important, and he should never be elected to anything ever again. A couple of comments. The first is, at various times during the however long it's been, it's time flies when you're having fun. Has it been a year? However long we've been doing this podcast, at various times,
2 years.
I have held up.
We've
2
been
years.
Doing it.
See, it just feels like we're just getting started. I'm having so much fun.
I know, but it's been. I got to set this record straight. It's been a little over 2 years. A little over 2 years we've been doing this. I mean, time does fly.
Time totally flies. So at various times, I have held up an actual physical copy of the Epoch Times. The point I'm going to enter, not a subscriber, I highly encourage it. It is not only consistently good, well-written news, but it's actually written above the usual sixth grade level of many of these newspapers. It's written for those of us who are actually competent and intelligent. So there's a plug for Epoch Times. I think you should go out and subscribe to it. As far as Amy Acton, I'm pretty active on social media, and I'm following her posts and activity, and she is consistently cut to shreds. All over, everywhere I can find her, anytime she peeks her head up and posts anything, it's probably about 95 to 99% negatively, not very long-lived. She's probably going to stick around for a while, soak up some money and attention, and then drop out or fizzle out or something. As far as, here's a question for you, and this has come up a few times in recent conversations. Right now, the Democrat Party is in shambles. And I think the reasons for that are fascinating. One has to do with anytime there's a new sort of totalitarian, whatever you want to call it, communist, globalist kind of government, one of the ways that they take root is to point at the prior administration and blame them. And that was happening with Trump. But for the first time in human history, we have a leapfrog event where that person who was being blamed by the new administration, the new communist cabal, actually jumped back in, and he's back in office again, which is crazy. It's driving the Democrat Party into shambles. They don't know what to do. For that reason, I think that what's happening is they're pushing out some people that in my mind are clearly ultra far left communists because they're trying something to stay relevant. They've got now AOC and George Soros and the people that were in the background just kind of pulling some levers. They're actually being pushed out into the front and center. So my question for Jeff Louderback, under this circumstance, what's the trickle-down effect across the nation? The Democrat Party at the federal level is in such disarray. I'm personally hopeful that carries into state politics and leads people like Amy Acton to have nothing to hang their hat on.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious the resounding defeat that the Democratic Party took on, I forget the date now, November 5th, first week of November. I covered the race in North Carolina. We were assigned and thank you for the kind words about the Epoch Times. Earlier in my career, I worked for large metro newspapers and got out of full-time journalism because I didn't like the direction it was heading. But the Epoch Times, it's like when you get called up to the majors, everyone is on the same level or better than you, and we inspire each other. And writers, and it's all about the covering with fairness and balance. And that's a segue back to what I was saying. We assigned different reporters to the key battleground states, North Carolina being one of them. So I was in North Carolina all week, crisscrossing the state, going to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump rallies, and obviously the polls were inaccurate again, and Donald Trump won easily. And look at the Democratic Party. I think maybe in December, I can't remember what organization it was, but a poll came out where the Democrat Party has an approval rating of 31%. And I'm surprised it's 31%, really, because I covered the RFK Jr. campaign, and most of the supporters there, you would think that he would have had some Democrat supporters. Most of them were libertarians, former or current Trump people, and moderate Republicans and independents. The Democrat Party is losing steam across because they've gone, as RFK Jr. would point out, it's not the Democrat Party of when JFK and his dad, Robert Kennedy, were in office. I mean, that's the Democrat Party. It used to be where there weren't really major differences, a whole lot of major differences between Republicans and Democrats. And now it's like a lot of people who were moderate are pushed far, what's now considered far to the right. But it's really biblical, constitutional value-based thinking.
I got you. I mean, there's a huge difference between what Democrats were and have become and everything. They've become like a monster. I want to get Leonard in here for a minute if I can. Leonard, how you doing, man? Do you have a question? And also, Jeff, we'll get into Make America Healthy Again here in just a minute. We'll segue into that. But Leonard, any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I just thanks, Jeff, for coming on. But it's really amazing to me that when I see Republicans and Democrats, what I see is Democrats promoting socialism, and I see Republicans supporting efficient socialism. And what concerns me is that no one comes in talking about the reality of where we are as a nation and how that will impact the states. And when you start talking about the reality of the federal government having to pay off the interest that's due in 4 years, and they know they can't do it, and then I have people in the background talking about cryptocurrency, then no one's talking about how that's going to impact the states. But we're talking about tweaking this, cutting this, and doing this, but no real reality of what's going to happen or how would the states position themselves if in the event that the federal government goes kaput. In other words, the chickens come home to roost, and it will happen. So that's what concerns me. We're just so far in the weeds, we're not thinking about the reality of the bigger picture here.
Yeah. No. Do you think any thoughts on that, Jeff? And then we'll move into Make America Healthy Again.
So opinions. Most people who follow me on social media know about my advocacy against shutdowns and mask mandates and vaccine mandates back during the COVID time. But I mean, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, it's not.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I mean, there's plenty. Look at Ohio. We're considered a Republican supermajority, but we're really not. There are very few true conservative state legislators based on their actions. And the Republican Party really isn't a whole lot better than the Democrat Party in some aspects. And yeah, I mean, it's important to recognize that and have critical thought and be able to recognize it's not Republican versus Democrat. I mean, it's important to have our own. It's just important to be informed and to understand and not fall into that trap of one against the other and having your own critical thought and recognize that, it's just important to know that just because an R is behind someone's name doesn't make them better than the D. And that's the trap we're falling into in a lot of aspects. So that's not directly related to what he was saying, but I think indirectly it is in a way.
No, I got you.
Joe, can I make a comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
So that's a great opportunity for me to once again plug the work and efforts of Precinct Strategy. We have two websites. There's a national precinctstrategy.com, and there's one in Ohio that's dedicated to the state of Ohio. It's ohioprecinctstrategy.org. That is a grassroots effort to reclaim the Republican Party from within, break the back of the Uniparty, and give the Republican Party back to we the people. It's about as simple as I can make it. It is encouraging people to become aware of local politics, because remember the expression, all politics is local. The Precinct Strategy spells out step by step, and they're encouraging people waiting to help you to get involved, to become aware, and to start getting engaged at the local level. A lot of people, I don't want to get into the details of this. I'm sure this is something Jeff, our guest, and others on this podcast can comment on, but it is a system that's fundamentally broken. When it works well, we the people, we are the voice of government. That's been systematically broken through the last several 60 to maybe 100 years. It has been disrupted and broken, and now we have this sort of top-down bureaucratic nightmare of uniparty. It's like the evil conjoined twins of the Democrat and Republican Party. Jeff's spot on. The way we fix that is fundamentally important, and if and when we do that, we the people, we get our voice and vote back. I encourage everybody to go to one of the two of those websites, check out the federal precinct, or the national precinctstrategy.com, and the state-specific ohioprecinctstrategy.org. The more of us that step in and get involved, I'm one of them, and you'll hear my story. I've been on over a year now. I've been training people in the state of Ohio and nationally on how this works. You can hear my story and the story of many others when we flip it back to conservatives taking charge. Great things happen. When we do that at the local, then the county, and then the state level, all of these issues that we're talking about, these things that Jeff is pointing to, the brokenness of Columbus, Ohio, and the fact that we don't really have we have very few solid conservative Republicans in the Republican Party. That's how we fix it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's not having an R after your name. It is what you do with that R after your name. And we're looking for conservatives. We're looking for MAGA Republicans. That's what's changed Ohio. It isn't the Republican Party that changed Ohio. It's the MAGA movement that has really changed Ohio. Let's switch over to Make America Healthy again. So you've been following also with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You've been following his campaign and what he's been doing. So fill us in on that if you would, okay? What has he been doing? He's been doing a lot of good things. I know that.
Well, first I'm going to, after what Jonathan said, this is related to the Maha movement. I'm going to be coming out with a couple stories on this, how the Maha movement is, RFK Jr. is the architect, but the Maha movement is far beyond that. One of the aspects is there's the Maha PAC. There's a couple of Maha-related PACs, but this one's called Make America Healthy Again. A guy named Jeff Hutt is behind it, and he was on the Kennedy campaign. Their strategy is to kind of
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Reinforcing what Jonathan said, they are working on getting local and state, local politicians and getting local people elected and state people elected who are pro Make America Healthy Again to implement the vision, which is across, I would say, the roots of the MAHA movement. Obviously, removing corporate corruption from government agencies is one, but removing chemicals from foods, locally sourcing your foods, tying it. The HHS is working with the USDA to loosen regulations or remove regulations, make independent farmers more thrive more again, because we're losing hundreds of thousands of acres, actually millions of acres of farmland each year. And so that, and also just ending and tackling the chronic disease epidemic, and obviously vaccine safety and informed consent. Those are big ones, but it does start at I talked about this back during COVID. It starts at the local level. It's important who your local, it's important who the president is and who's in the Senate and the House, but it's more important, in my opinion, or equally important at least, who's on your school board, who is your village council, your city council, your township trustees, because we need people who are going to stand up against, like what was happening during COVID. You hardly had anyone standing up against, they were afraid to stand up against mask mandates and vaccine mandates and lockdowns. And now, obviously, it's important. Here, I'm here in Highland County, which is one of the smallest, and statistically wise, it's one of the most impoverished counties in the state. Yeah, but it's very conservative, voted 83% Trump. But we have a Pride, LGBTQ Pride Day coming up in, I think it's June. And a big part of that, they have drag queens there performing for kids here in the Appalachian foothills. There's a lot of churches who aren't even standing up against it. There's a lot of businesses who aren't standing up against it. The commissioners, the Hillsborough City Council, the Highland County Commissioners, they're not standing up. It's important to elect people who are going to influence change and reflect American values, which are biblical based and constitutional based. And obviously, with a Pride Day, people in the First Amendment being able to do what you want, but when it impacts kids, that's the big thing. With the drag queens performing kids, so in front of kids. So, that's
I got a question for you on that. What kind of turnout do they expect for something like that? If you're 83% Republican conservative, I wouldn't think that you'd get much of a turnout, right? And it's also, you don't have to wait to elect somebody. If the people don't want it, they can voice their opinion right then and there during that drag event. People can voice their opinion right then and there and say enough is enough. Get out of here. Come on. Yeah. People have to engage. People have to get engaged. It's not just voting, which happens once every couple of years or whatever. But get involved today, doing something. You can call, I guess, the mayor. You could call the city council people, township people, whoever, and say, we don't want this. Fight it, right?
I got off on and I'll get back to the MAHA because I do have some interesting things to talk about MAHA. But as it relates to local politics, this has nothing to do with MAHA. I want to make that clear. But yeah, you're right. But it's related to kind of like the Ohio the Ohio governor's race. The Democrats don't have a strong candidate. If Jim Tressel runs, we have an open primary. A lot of Democrats are going to vote for Jim Tressel. So that relates to small town politics too, and local politics, because you have a lot of outside influence. I would be very surprised if there are a whole lot of people here in Highland County that are behind that. I know there's a lot of outside influence, like from Cincinnati and Columbus, coming in, but there's a lot of people standing up against it. But a lot of people, anytime you speak up against something like that, you're called racist and a bigot.
Yeah, right. I know. You called everything. All right, but we've got to grow out of that too. Racist has been used so much. It's like, who the hell cares if they call you racist? I couldn't care less. Big deal.
Yeah.
It's used so much today. It's like it's time to fight back. Well, so what's going on with the Maha movement?
We got off on a
what's happening with that?
Well, the Maha movement is fascinating because the RFK Jr. campaign started in April of 2023.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And obviously, August 2024, he left the race and endorsed Trump. At that time, the term Maha was coined, "Make America Healthy Again." But it had been RFK Jr. had been advocating for that for a long time, and that was one of those points I made earlier. That was a big part of his platform. So once Trump got elected, and Kennedy went through that confirmation process, he's the HHS secretary. The Maha movement, he's doing a lot. Obviously, it's going to take time to influence or to input everything he wants to do, but he's already focusing on, removing the hallmark things, removing chemicals, ending corporate corruption, tackling the vaccine. That's a big thing. He canceled one of the meetings, the FDA meetings on the flu vaccine, where they recommend what the flu vaccines strains will be. He's already tackling all that, and it's just fascinating that people want to see everything happen right away, but it's going to be 4 years. It's going to really need to be. It'll go into 2028 as well. I mean, it'll take 4 to 8 years to influence everything because Big Pharma has a big hold on what happens with vaccines. And obviously the food companies, Big Ag, has a big influence on. It's going to cost them a lot of money to clean up the food supply. I mean, obviously that should be. RFK Jr. frequently talks about the ingredients in Europe versus the United States. Just as Big Pharma stands to lose a lot of money from vaccines, what should be done with vaccines, Big Ag is going to lose a lot of money by taking chemicals out, and they're going to fight that. So it's going to take time, but it's exciting to cover. I've loved covering the RFK Jr. campaign and now the Maha movement, HHS, USDA. It's exciting that you got to figure out. It's still early in. People expect everything that Trump wants to do to happen right away. But what is it? March 23rd. It's 2 months in, so we're just getting started. And the same with Maha. It extends beyond. It's a movement. It's not just RFK Jr. I did a story on the Crunchy Moms, where they had a big influence on RFK's campaign and the Maha movement now. And you have the Maha PAC that's striving to get pro-Maha officials elected at the local and state level. Mm-hmm. And it's all about locally sourcing your food and being able to grow, know where your food comes. Like it'll go back to like 1940.
You'll be able to actually pronounce the ingredients too, which would be a novel thing right there. Okay, so I'm going to bring on Stepahie Stock is joining us here tonight. And, before I let you go, Jeff, since you are working with the Maha movement, and I know that Stepahie is a big fan of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and stuff. So let me just bring you on here for a second there, Stepahie. How are you today? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you. before I get really into talking to you, have Jeff Louderback. He's from the Epoch Times Ohio Reporter, and he does cover the Maha movement, as he says, quite a bit and stuff. So I was just wondering if you had a question you want to throw at him before before he has to leave. Is there something you have? Anything coming to mind?
A question? I don't know if I have a question per se. I just kind of came in on the tail end of what you guys were talking about. I heard you were saying that, you're kind of covering a lot of what's going on at the federal level. I think that's great. I do think it's important to remind everyone that the state level legislation is absolutely important because, especially with the executive orders and things like that, all of that has to be handled at the state level to make sure that everything is codified so that we have protections even after Trump is gone, because you just never know. Democrats always have some plan up their sleeve. So we need to make sure we got protections in place. And the same thing would go for, any changes that are made at the federal level as far as, food or vaccines or anything like that. We'll definitely want to make sure those are secured at the state level also. I'm sure Jeff probably agrees with that too. So I don't know if that's really a question, but.
Jeff, if you want to stay on a little bit, maybe you could ask a question, or if you have to go, I understand that as well.
Actually, I have a deadline I have to get to, even though it's Sunday night. But I can stay on a few more minutes. But to talk about what Stepahie mentioned, obviously we were talking about that a few minutes ago. But that is good to reinforce local, and whether it's your city, your county, your state, it begins there. That's what our founding fathers, that was their vision too. And that's what you're starting to see with DOGE, and it's all interrelated about, it's important what happens at the federal level, but it's critical who your local leaders are and who your state leaders are and what happens. And we need people who have the courage to step up and do that, whether it's something with COVID or like what happened during COVID, or what if it's related.
Hey, let's talk about that for 1 second, and then I'll let you go. But with the Maha movement and with vaccines and that, what is the stance now with RFK Jr.?
What do you mean by the stance? He's always been, since his early days, he's never said he's anti-vaccine. He's always said that he is for vaccine safety and for informed consent, but he has made the point, which is an accurate point.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
If you look at the inserts of vaccines and you look at the studies, no vaccine is fully safe or effective. A lot of vaccines, if not all of them, I can't say all of them, but a lot, they cause more problems than the condition they're supposed to treat. Obviously with COVID was, you look at the stats and people, when someone says this, they're branded to someone being cold, but COVID was not a serious condition. Most people who, pretty much, I don't think there's any deaths of people who stayed at home. It was all about hospital protocol, the remdesivir and the ventilator. And obviously, most people who died related to COVID had several comorbidities. But people who die, people who are impacted by the flu, die of several because of comorbidities. So that's all related to. It's all about what he talks about: vaccine safety. He's advocating for vaccine safety. He's advocating for informed consent. So no one should be forced to take something they don't want in their body, and they should know the potential ramifications, and that's one of the hallmarks of RFK Jr.'s Maha platform.
Gotcha. No, that's terrific. Yeah, we are very, very lucky to have him in there. To say that he's a step above Fauci is
yes.
not even coming close. But yeah, hey Jeff, thanks a lot. I know you got to get moving, and appreciate it. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Jeff.
Giving us that insight and everything
Thank
like
you.
that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
God bless. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so Stepahie, we got Brian out here. We've got Jonathan. We also have Leonard Gilbert here. So just to give you an idea who is with you
Welcome,
tonight.
Stepahie.
So let's talk about this first, then you can go on talking about some of your Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom stuff. But we've got this event. I just wanted to plug this right off the get-go. So you want to tell us about this coming up soon? You got a lot of people that'll be talking here, this Medical Freedom in Action. It's coming up this Saturday.
I'm excited. Of course, we always love to have Tom. He's our favorite Ohio political analyst attorney. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, he'll probably dip into some of the corruption. There's always something new, right? The vaccine issue, mRNA in our food, the lab grown meat situation that's on the horizon. So he'll probably have a packed 35 minutes giving us all the cool dirt on all that stuff. And then, Dr. Bartlett, he's amazing. He testified for HB 73 last assembly. Just a wonderful advocate for patients. He's an ER doctor. He's also the doctor that developed the budesonide protocol during COVID. So he was on the cutting edge of that. He's, well-versed in things to handle bird flu, which will be very good for people to hear since that's one of the things they're hitting us with. And then he is on the front lines of the measles outbreak right now. So he'll be able to give some great insight on handling measles because we've had our first measles case come. And of course, the sky is falling according to the media. But, he's got there's great tools to handle measles, and as long as the doctors understand and are versed in how to treat the co-infections that happen with it, like mycoplasma pneumonia, some of the issues with breathing, which are treatable, these kids are getting through it fine. The only child that died in Texas went to the hospital. So yeah,
you got a lot here too. This is like boy, you're going to cram all this in 4.5 hours. You've got a lot of speakers there.
The lineup's pretty crazy. Oh, Stephen Petty. I got to give him a plug. Okay, so Stephen Petty's amazing. He's an industrial hygienist. He's a mask expert. He's been an expert witness in over 400 national cases, regarding pesticides and just various different chemical things. He was the lead expert in East Palestine. And he's also an Ohioan half-time. I think he's a Floridian the other half of the time. And he got the state mask mandate in Kentucky overturned with his 12-minute testimony. So you're not going to want to miss. You're not going to want to miss Stephen. You will come out of there an absolute mask expert. So and then we've got Maha Caucus, of course, our three top founding members are going to be there, and we have Meredith and Dakota's going to give us a little bit too, and then of course you're going to have to hear me yap some. But it's going to be great. We just really want to get people motivated, educated, and then activated, politically, because that is how we make change. We've got to get get legislation passed. It's great to know about stuff, but it doesn't really help you to know about stuff if you can't get access to it, or you have to deal with mandates. So those are all, those are our big priorities, top priorities. Still going, almost 10 years now, guys. We're going to get us a vaccine choice bill passed one of these days.
Yeah, so that's great. So do you have any other bills, a bill you'd like to mention? This is X here. I'm just going to scroll down here for a second. So this is
you can, if
so
you
we
want,
got something
you can
coming
pull
up here. Wait a minute. Moving the needle state by state, America Out Loud talk. So you're going to be on the radio here. Dr.
That was Dr. Mary Bowden's podcast. She's amazing. She's one of the doctors that came out and was trying to prescribe ivermectin, and they came after her license. She's also in Texas, and she couldn't come out, but she did do written testimony for HB 73. So she's also a huge advocate for patient rights and drug access. We're hoping that she'll be able to actually come out in person and testify this time. Mary's been great. She's been great.
Yeah,
now, if you go to the OAMF page, you'll probably see more. But you mentioned other bills, because I know you guys already know about HB 12. You've had Jen on a couple of times.
Well, let's do this. It's not so much what we know; it's what the people watching. So, what is HB 12 again?
Okay, so HB 12 is HB 73 coming back this time around. So It's the one where you can make sure you can get access to drugs that your doctor has prescribed and that you've consented to, and also it has medical free speech for health providers so that they can actually give you informed consent, because if they say something about the vaccine or treatment or whatever, and then, the board comes after their license, you can't have informed consent if they're afraid. And it also has a provision to protect their license for prescribing off-label. Unless they're grossly negligent with how they're prescribing, there should be no reason why anybody should be coming after a doctor for coming up with innovative ways to treat their patients when their patients are consenting to that. So that's
that House Bill 12, that's called the Jeff, Dave, Angie Patient Right to
Try Act. Yes.
Try Act.
Yeah. So it's cool because HB 12 is right to try and HB 112 is right to refuse. So we kind of scored on that one. I have to make sure I don't.
You got them coming and you got them going. Okay. I got to get this guy in for a minute. I'm sure he's got something yet. And she's one of your biggest fans, isn't she, Brian?
Oh, Stepahie, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate your help. I understand that you're going to help us on the property tax issue, so we thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. I try to help wherever I can. Conservative all around.
Yeah, and likewise, we will help you in any way that we can. When I listen to all of the bills, I sometimes appreciate. I know I knock the state reps and senators a lot, but there's a lot of things that are coming across their plate, whether it's property tax or the medical issues. There's a lot happening in the state of Ohio, isn't there, Stepahie?
Yeah, there is quite a few things going on this assembly. I was on the health front. I was really happy to see Representative Levi Dean. He's a freshman. His dad was Representative Dean before he turned out, so he's filling in for his dad, which is pretty cool. He just introduced a bill. Gosh, I think it's 182. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a bill to remove fluoride from public drinking water. So that's pretty amazing. And he just did that on his own. He just got out there and said, "Hey, I'm going to come out of the gate with this bill." It was wonderful. Where OAMF is supporting it 100%. And then there is a bill from Klomfenstein. I never quite say his name right. It's complicated, but he has HB 10. And good, you found it. And he has HB 10, and that bill will require them to label lab-grown meat and lab-grown eggs. I did inform him recently that now they're going to do fake milk. It's called unreal milk. Like, who wants to drink that? Nasty. Anyway, I said, you might want to expand it to everything, because these guys are going to plan on making Franken food all the way around. So hopefully he's looking at maybe amending it to include labeling anything that's lab grown. So that's pretty cool. I think both of those bills are great. And then, there's stuff with tax reform and all kinds of other
question there on House Bill.
Joe, do you ever you realize that, fluoride, I've been, brushing my teeth with, fluoride toothpaste, and fluoride is, and we've been told all our life fluoride is good for you. There's no problem. My dentist used to say, yeah, fluoride is what you really need. And now they're saying 180 degrees. So have they been lying to us all these years about everything? Does anybody?
More than likely, Brian. More than likely.
It kind of seems like that, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, look, it has risks. Initially, fluoride was a byproduct of aluminum production. They had to find a way to get rid of it, so they put it in water. It's a long story. You guys can go research the history of fluoride. It's kind of a crazy thing, but since they've done studies, they are seeing that it may be lowering IQ in children and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty disturbing. If you want to use it for your teeth, great, but there should be no reason why we have that in public drinking water. You can't get consent to have it in your water. So, if people want to have that, they can go and get it. That's fine. I mean, you can even get drops to add to your water. You can do that if you want to, but it should not be in public water, because you can't get consent for that.
But like what Brian was saying, it's been in our public water since we've been in existence, it seems like. So I don't know. Hopefully there's no long-term effects, and hopefully it hasn't lowered my IQ. Because I don't want that going any lower than it already is.
We wanted to talk to you about that.
One quick question here. And then I'll let those other guys talk. House Bill 10, regulating the imitation of meat and eggs. Do you know much about that? I mean, that's imitation meat and eggs.
Yeah, that's the one I was telling you about. That's the one that would require them to label if it's not actual meat. So what they're doing, and Tom Rentz is really knowledgeable on this, and I think he will be speaking to this partially at the event. But the way they're doing the synthetic lab-grown meat, it's almost like a cancer tumor. It's so gross. It's literally
real appetizing. Real appetizing.
Yeah. Anybody want a tumor for lunch? Oh, I forgot. One of the great components in that bill also is that it says that the state will not provide that in school lunches. So, or I think in college too. I think it's K through 12 and college. So they will not. You can't put Franken meat or Franken eggs in school lunches. So that's cool. I actually think that's better than food dyes. I mean, honestly, would you rather have a little red 40 or a tumor? I mean, or you can pack your lunch.
Neither one sounds very appetizing. Yeah, you can just pack your lunch and not have to worry about it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I don't depend on the government for anything, including my lunch.
Yeah, well, that's very high on the list of things that I don't want from government is food. They need to get their hands out of all of the above. So a few comments. One is, I was actually sitting on a comment relating to Jeff Louderback that kind of tied in Stepahie Stock, and that is Jeff made the comment about RFK Jr. and the efforts that he's making for MAHA, and I think actually one of the best statements about the position that he's in came from Stepahie Stock. Find her Facebook page. Stepahie, you can tell us if you post elsewhere. I saw it on Facebook. But I saw a great statement about the really, really difficult position that RFK Jr. is in related to MAHA and his appointment by Trump from Stepahie Stock. So that's one of the first things I want to encourage our group here to do. Go find Stepahie Stock and Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom on Facebook. Follow her. Follow Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom. Stay up to date on all this information. And along the way, you get this great thing that she wrote up on RFK Jr. That's one thing I want to say. The other is, while you were talking, I pulled up some figures here. So we're talking about this scare case of measles. And oh boy, we're supposed to be very afraid of measles. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, I happened to just pull up some figures for fentanyl deaths. Going back, it's weird, they don't actually follow a calendar year. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention go from August to September every year. In 2022, I want to remind everybody, there are reported 79,815 fentanyl deaths in the United States. The same 12-month period ended August of 2024, 89,740. So somehow we've got this ridiculous government that's supposed to look out for the interests of we the people that is obsessing over this crazy death of a girl in Texas that has some convoluted circumstances to it. There are some people that are saying there are extenuating circumstances and some weirdness was done that led to her death, etc. And I am very sorry for that family that they lost a loved one. However, in the scheme of running a country, if we are dedicating more resources to analyzing the death of one person in Texas than we are to addressing the deaths of 80.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
To 90,000 people per year, we have a broken government. Back to everything that's going on with Stepahie Stock. Stepahie, if you follow me on social media, Joe's posted on it as well. Last year, we had Representative Jennifer Gross, who was on with us last week, championed a bill in Ohio to advocate for medical freedom, which is a whole bunch of things Stepahie can outline for you. She touched on some of the key things that takes the boot heel off of doctors' necks and gives them the freedom to do what they feel is in our best interest as patients. This year, Representative Gross is back at it again. She's championing the same thing, pushing forward on the same initiatives in cooperation and collaboration with Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom. And as far as my notes, I think that, there is one other thing. So Stepahie mentioned masking. And one of the greatest videos I've found out there is a video interview with the country music star John Rich. John Rich goes through the steps that he went through when he found out that his children's school, I think it's his son was told that his son had to mask during COVID. Go find that video, because that is what we need more of in America. What he did in reaction to his school telling him that he needed to mask his kid. First of all, we need to clone Stephanie's stock and make it like at least 49 more for all the other states. But also we need more people to act like John Rich in that video.
Yeah, I don't know. You better ask the other state legislatures. I don't know if they want another annoying Stepahie running around. But yeah, just to speak to what you said really quickly back about to the measles case, I'm actually very, very familiar with what happened with that little girl. And that little girl would be with us today if it weren't for complete mismanagement from the hospital. She was not treated with an antibiotic in a reasonable amount of time. They knew she had fluid on her lungs. They delayed treatment, and then when they did give her treatment, it wasn't even the right antibiotic. She had mycoplasma pneumonia, and they were not treating her with an antibiotic that would help that. And when the family asked for breathing treatments, she was not given a breathing treatment. Instead, they ventilated her. So that case was mismanaged start to finish. And of course, I hate to say it, but I'm sure you guys would agree with me. When an unvaccinated child rolled into that ER with measles, they would have liked to see it a headline. That's all I have to say about that. So they got their headline, and that's what they're continuing to push. They have not yet come out and said this was complete medical mismanagement, and that all of those children that were the other siblings of that child, they all recovered from measles. They were treated by another doctor who was working with Dr. Bartlett also. That entire Mennonite community did not lose one child. The only child that died was the child that went to the hospital. So I just want to make that clear, because the media is not reporting that, unfortunately. And then was there another question that you asked me? I derailed myself. I want to get back to it. If you did ask me one other thing, I know you were just talking about Jen's bills.
Yeah, I think we're just interested. Is there another bill that you'd like to highlight tonight?
Oh, we didn't talk about 112. I just mentioned that it was conscientious right to refuse. So that is back. And it's better than before. So that bill now will be expanded not only to cover the conscientious right to refuse vaccines, biologic, mRNA, blah, 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 and pharmaceuticals, but also masks that are not being used, directly for medical, dental or medical procedures, because we don't want people sneezing in your mouth, that kind of we remove that part. So masks, and then also medical devices. Any medical device that would track or store personal, financial, or health information, that you have the right to refuse that. Just thinking ahead. You never know what they got up their sleeve. Everything's so techy now. We just want to make sure that we cover ourselves. And then we've also added a provision, because remember, that bill applies to adults and emancipated minors. So now we've included discrimination protection for medical care and transplantation for kids. So the adult the provisions of the bill would already cover you from medical discrimination, but we wanted to make sure that children got included in that because of Adeline and others like her. We just wanted to make sure we had that. So that part's been added. And just so everybody knows, we have requested for both of these bills to be put into the budget. So the people responsible for allowing that are Matt Huffman and Representative Stewart. So make sure you call them up and let them know that that HB 12 and 112 were requested to be added to the budget because we already know 73 swooped through the House last time. There's no reason not to get this done. And we've been asking for vaccine choice legislation. Well, most of the Republicans in the state for 5 years. OAMF's been asking for it for 10 years. There's absolutely zero reason not to have the conscientious right to refuse vaccination. So those have been requested for the budget. And then we also asked Josh Williams, he was kind enough to try to request getting school exemption transparency as a budget amendment as well, that the schools would finally have to notify parents that they do have the right to exemptions when they notify them of the requirements, because they have never done that, and I think it's just awful. We actually asked to have that put into HB 8 in the Senate, but it didn't happen. So we're really hoping that that will go through, because parents do have a right to know. I mean, it's just wrong to not.
Parents have a right to know everything. Real quick, I'm going to go to Leonard here in 1 second, but real quick, what is the deadline for getting it into the budget? When are they voting on the budget?
So I don't know exactly what day they're voting on the budget. I would encourage everybody as much as possible to call and write in by Wednesday. I think they're going to decide the first round of amendments they're going to allow in on Wednesday. After that, it's going to be very hard to get anything in. So I strongly suggest call and email. Again, Matt Huffman and Representative Stewart. He's the chair of finance. So those are the two people that will be responsible for deciding yes or no on allowing those or those amendments into the budget.
Gotcha. Leonard, how do you do?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Stepahie, for coming on. And I got to tell you something. You made my whole night. And I'll tell you the reason why. I don't know where you are on your eschatology scale as far as theology is concerned, but you fit in the post-meal eschatology range, and that's where I am. That means we don't know how to quit. We play to win. So we keep going until this happens. Just like I told Brian on the property tax. We keep going until it happens. Because if you're not willing to die for what you believe in, you're not living. And with that, I just want to say I love you and thank you for everything that you're doing. And if I can support you in any way, let me know. I'll be right there behind you.
Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate that so much. I always say I'm going to keep fighting this fight until we either win or Jesus comes back. With twin
one or the other.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's it. One or the other. Brian, you got any last comments you'd like to make for Stepahie here tonight?
No, she's Stepahie is amazing, to me, with her knowledge and her drive to get things done. So, thank you so much for what you're doing for all of the citizens of the state of Ohio, Stepahie.
You guys are very welcome, and thanks for having me on and highlighting our event this weekend. Maybe I'll see some of you guys there. Hopefully.
Well, I was even thinking maybe live streaming it, possibly. Would you have any objections to if we did live stream it, or is
my communications director is going to be videoing it. I don't know if he might be live streaming it. I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that one, because we might be live streaming it, and I just don't know yet because he's on a little mini vacation with his family. So he'll probably be telling me something tonight.
Yeah, I got you. If we did live stream it, though, it wouldn't be for the full 5.5. Maybe just during Tom Rentz when he spoke, or whoever, a couple of the speakers, and just to get a flavor for it. But it's totally up to you. But yeah, I got it up there again. Medical Freedom in Action. It's Saturday. You got an all-star lineup there. I see Jennifer Gross is also going to be speaking, which is great. So you got an all-star lineup. I'm just going to let it go tonight. Jonathan, you can have the last word. And Stepahie, thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Stepahie. So I guess the last word that I'm going to interject for our listening audience, there's more than just information to be gained from following Stepahie Stock. Go and find her on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, and other places. Follow the information, but share it, and also follow the instructions. There's a reason that often in the past the left have beat us. They beat us because they're louder. They're fewer, but they're louder. I think that tide is shifting. There are enough of us who are constitutional conservative, that care, that are getting vocal. And Stepahie does a great job of laying out who's involved in what committee, a phone number, an email. Every little bit helps. Get out there, follow this thing, and if you agree with it, well, if you don't, I think you're on the wrong podcast. But there should be medical freedom for us to do what we feel is right, and for our doctors and medical staff to do what they feel is in our best interests. That, to me, is just common sense. So follow. And when you see those instructions, and there are some phone numbers, I'll give you an example. There's another issue. This one wasn't medical freedom, but just a few days ago, I saw an email that somebody laid out for me beautifully with a series of phone numbers. I hit dial one after the other. I just left voicemail messages. Always be polite. I left voicemail messages for several representatives in Columbus and just said, my name, I am opposed to this thing that you're considering. I hope that you will follow this. If you have any additional questions or comments you would like from me, and I left my phone number. It's as simple as that. It's super easy. The more of that we do, the more we get the things done that we want to. And that, if you get behind the work that Stepahie Stock is doing at Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom, we can make a difference. We tell our representatives what we want from them, what we expect. Again, I can't emphasize enough. On our side, we're under the microscope. We're scrutinized for our behavior and tone. Do it respectfully, do it nicely, but please send the emails and make the phone calls.
Yeah.
Yep. Amen to that.
All right. Well, Stepahie, thank you again, and let's push those bills through. Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody.
You too, guys.
God bless.
Thanks so much.
See you later.
Thanks, Stepahie.
Games are done, the mask fell off. No more lies, we've had enough. This time, we're naming names. You try to rule.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.